Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I'm Barb Freeman, Clerk of the Board of Trustees and Coordinator of the Climate Action Team. Whether you are here for the first time or have been a member for many years, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as our convictions, the pain and joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. Our congregation acknowledges that the land on which UU Utica is situated is the ancestral land of the Oneida Nation, one of the original nations of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois people. If you are here in person, welcome back. If you are on Zoom and are signing in today for the first time, we are glad you joined us, and we would love to know more about you and connect you with our newsletter if you like. There's a link in the chat to a form that we hope any visitors would fill out. And we hope you will stay for informal conversation in breakout groups after the service. The only announcement that I know of today is that the Climate Action Team will meet tomorrow, next Sunday, November 28th at noon by Zoom. And I'm considering things it's Thanksgiving weekend, whether we meet here in person or not, but I'll send an email. Thank you. Before Glenn Coyne comes up to let us know who's on Zoom and who's here in person, I would like to thank Jules and Patty. And I've been seeing some of the technical notes that have been passing back and forth, and want to give a giant thank you to Alex, to Jeff, to Melissa, and heaven forbid if I'm missing anyone else on the technological team. You can't imagine all the coordination and work that goes into it. Thank you. Glenn?
So we like to, I'm Glenn Coyne, I'm a member of the worship committee. We like to connect our two worlds here, both in person and on Zoom. So I'm going to introduce those on both. So in person, we have Kim Bywater, Jack Pendrak, Katie Spires, Jules Heller, Patty Heller, Miranda Holfelt, Roberta Matthews, Jeff Chard. We have on the soundboard, we have Melissa Barlett and Alex Jackson. Thank you. We have Jackie Lisos, Roz Kearney, and Carol Gable way in the back. Pardon? Barb Lindsay. Where's Barb? Missed her. Oh, and Barb Lindsay. I apologize. And up here, of course, we have Dave Jones, who you'll see later, and Barb Freeman. So those of us who can't quite see the writing on the screen, our Zoom, we have 23 people on Zoom today. Doreen Markson, Ken Drake, Branwyn Drew, Cheyenne Shoemaker's iPhone, I assume that's Cheyenne Shoemaker, Cynthia Domack, Diane Cronauer, Don and Diane Stebbins, Elizabeth Dockstader, Howard Waldis, Jay Williams, Kay Burgess, Keith Blackmore, Lisa Ostrander, Malcolm Gladwell, Mona Parati, Nancy Bender, Paul Tenerowitz, Ryan Miller, Sally Carmen, Stephanie Markham, and Jules is also on Zoom. You're here twice. You get two nods. Welcome to everyone, whether you're watching on Zoom or from home in your pajamas or here in person. Thanks.
I am Kim Bywater, also a member of the worship committee. The words for our greeting are written by Amy Mackenzie Quinn. Welcome to this common sacred space. Common because we are all welcome. Sacred because here we transform the ordinary and attend to the profound. We carry with us regrets, doubts, fears, stories, laughter. May they inspire our worship. Above all, May we each meet what we need most to find on this day in this common sacred space.
Hello. Chalice lighting. Oh, mask off, I'm sorry. Okay. The chalice lighting, The Infinite Possibilities of Love by Tom Goldsmith. Symbol of light and knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love.
We are here to celebrate the Urban Tree Project. And I'm fortunate to have with us Dave Jones, who's not only a member of our church, but a member of the Rotary Club of Utica. So this project began probably last spring. I have time to think about when we did it, but the Climate Action Team had been thinking about a local project that would make our community better. And as we talked and thought about it, we realized that it could be a pretty big project and we needed partners. The joy that I have noticed in this project is collaboration. And maybe Dave, I'm not going to take words away from Dave because Dave is going to talk a little bit, but that is what my takeaway, where each member of the team did what they were good at. It's the best kind of collaboration. So the Climate Action Team actually worked on putting the collaborators together and contacting the homeowners. A letter was sent to each homeowner. We have their phone numbers and have found a little few tricks that people don't always answer their phone from somebody they don't know. So we have to work on that. And Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency, in the person of Darlene Mack Brown, has been helpful. When I couldn't reach someone, she said to me, "Oh, she never answers her phone. Let me call her and tell her that she can call you." And then after that, we had a great communication. So it is not a project without difficulties. We found a couple difficulties on corner lots also, but we're working on fixing those, and that's a good thing. So Utica Rotary was the first entity that I sent an email to. And I said, we're thinking of this project. We see so many city streets without trees. And I sent it to Joe Caruso, who happened to be president of Utica Rotary. At the same time, I was president of the Adirondack Foothills Rotary. So we knew each other. Networking is invaluable, let me tell you. And Joe loved the idea. He walks the city. He said, I walk the city streets. We need trees. And Utica Rotary talked to Israel Acosta, who was president then, and Dave Jones, who's been a fabulous coordinator. Really, Dave has spent a lot of time because he knows people, he has a network, and that's where a lot of the coordination happens. So Dave, without further ado, come on up.
Thank you. So nice to be seen in person and to see everyone here. It's been a long time. Thanks for that reflection, Barbara. I actually forgot how we connected because I go back to the SRAG. SRAG is a Rotary International District Committee. It stands for Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. And I've been on a number of Zoom meetings with them, and most of them pertain to, because the district has 41 clubs between Auburn and Little Falls, most of the activities we're dealing with rural areas, planting trees, conservation measures. But I knew since I was a kid, I grew up in the South Bronx with devoid of trees. And my first exposure to trees was when my then mother and the Cub Scouts walked us a mile to the nearest park where we climbed trees. And that gave me the exposure to the outdoors, which sustains me for the rest of my life. So I'm happy to introduce this project, but on one of these calls to SRAG, we were introduced to an organization called Onondaga Earth Corps. which is out of Syracuse. And I saw, actually, it was a fundraising video I saw on OEC. And from that video, I says, it involves using youth and young adults to plant trees and do conservation projects throughout the city of Syracuse. And they've been in existence since 2007, very successfully. And they run year round, but during the summer, they employ about 80 people. So I talked to the director of that after looking at that video, and I said, oh, maybe we could do something in Utica similar to that. So I was researching nonprofits to partner with, and then COVID hit, and I said, it ain't gonna happen. So I says, let's take it through Rotary, with Rotary. And first I went to the city to get their blessing, and that took 2 months. And I had done 3 previous projects with the City of Utica Parks Department. And I said, it won't cost you anything other than labor. All right, and they approved of that. So I went to they also gave me some names of some tree nurseries, and I found the wholesaler and wrote up a budget to present to my Rotary Club. And without even having funding, they approved of $2,700, which was great. And then a week later, I get this email from Jerry Krause. He says, how does Tees for Trees sound? I says, what are you, teed off of me? I didn't have any die with it. He said, no, I'm going to do promote a golf tournament. So from that golf tournament, he raised $2,000. In addition to that, the Adirondack, our local chapter, the Adirondack Mountain Club, donated $500. So we're off and running. We got the money. Now we got to put it to use. So we partnered with Mohawk Valley Community Action Agency, which Barbara mentioned, Darlene Mack Brown, and collaboratively between the 3 of us, we found the participants for this inaugural year for this tree project. Quite successful. I should mention Rotary a little more detail because everyone has heard of Rotary, but I don't think most people know the impact they've had globally. Our biggest project that to date is the eradication of polio, which started in early 1990s. And to date, there's 2 cases this year, 2 cases of polio. Once that's eradicated, that's going to be our finest hour. But throughout the world, with 2.2 million Rotarians and who knows how many districts and clubs, projects are going on all the time. And I'm happy to partner with you all with this urban tree planting project, which we hope to continue for years to come.
Thanks, Dave. Just to put a few more finer details on it, we wanted people to be able to trust the project. Dave had the idea of making a list of short trees and tall trees, sorry. I researched it and got their pictures and a few little statistics about them to put in the application that the person made. And we left it to Mohawk Valley Community Action to find people who were requesting a tree. These people just, even though it was on city property, they were requesting a tree. And they got to choose the tree. The city of Utica offered to check the spot out. This is on city property, right, Dave? The property between the sidewalk and the street belongs to the city. They volunteered or agreed to auger holes so that we didn't stand there digging holes. And they checked the underground pipes, they checked the sidewalk. We didn't want to, as I was quoted in the OD, you want the right tree in the right place. So you don't want its roots ruining the sidewalk. A few homeowners were worried that they'd have to replace the sidewalk if they agreed to the tree. And I think as time goes by, people will be feel safer about that. So Utica bought stakes. In the end, we had some advice from tree people who said, don't use stakes. And so we did not. So that was the city of Utica's part. When I mentioned the corner lots, when we gave the address for Utica to auger the holes, it was their street address. But the 2 people on the corners wanted the tree on the street that wasn't their address. So we're working on that. If you hear anything, we're working on that. But all of us want to watch this project. The climate action team, the city of Utica with Dave working with them, Dave Jones, and Dave Short, who's Commissioner, Parks and Recreation Commissioner, agreed to send the Utica water truck around because when you first plant the trees, by the way, this is the best, absolute best time to plant a deciduous tree. It may sound crazy to you, but they're dormant. And when you water them with 5 gallons of water each, which the city agreed to do with their watering truck, it takes out the air pockets for the trees so that they are healthier. I'm told by our resident arborist in our Adirondack Foothills Rotary Club that the roots will continue to grow because they're below freezing point, maybe in Utica, maybe not in Remsen. And they'll keep growing. Our team will be connecting with these homeowners and asking them how they would like to do continuous drip because the survival of the tree will be much better with continuous drip. We have a couple members, Sally Carmen and Paul, drilling holes in 5-gallon buckets. We have some ideas for decorating the buckets, 5-gallon buckets that can be filled with water. And we have some of our members willing to donate hoses if the homeowner has an outdoor spigot. So we have to find all that out. So there's more to do. But it all comes down to the right tree in the right place. With that, I would like to do our first hymn. The words are in your program. Winds Be Still, page 83, but I think you have the words yourself. And I am not going to sing into the microphone.
Winds be still, storm clouds pass and silence come. Peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of home, and shine light of love, and in calm let all find tranquility. Birds fly high, lift our gaze toward distant view. Help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view. Help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join songs in new songs that become full symphony.
Well, this is a time that Ken Drake would read our call to worship. So I'm going to pretend I'm Ken, I think. It's Wind, Water, and Sun by Seth Carrier Ladd. Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over the willing earth. This is the spirit of life and love that we call forth now into this gathering. May this spirit infuse our hearts as we enter now into this time and space. Come, let us worship together. It is now time for the children's story. And although you're kind of far away, I'm going to show the pictures. The book is called A Gift of a Tree by Greg Henry Quinn, illustrated by Rhonda Crum. The sky above, the earth below, and in between is me, the air I breathe, the soil I till. Both are gifts of the tree. Oxygen. Where does all the oxygen come from? From plants. The leaves on plants breathe in used up air called carbon dioxide. Then they breathe out new oxygen. Oxygen is the gift of the tree. Animal homes. The tree is a perfect home for families of raccoons, squirrels, owls, woodpeckers, and more. The animal homes are the gift of the tree. Seeds. In addition to being the way trees multiply, seeds, nuts, fruits, and berries are important sources of healthy food for people and for animals. Seeds are gifts of the tree. Leaves. Leaves provide shade when it's hot. They breathe for the tree. They hide the birds' nests from their enemies. They are food for many insects and larger animals. Leaves are gifts of the tree. Compost. The mixture of dead leaves and plant stalks is called humus or compost. Compost makes the soil very rich. Soil and compost are gifts of the tree. Trees give the earth and all living things so much. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the soil in which we grow our gardens, and beautiful sights. You can give the world and the earth a gift of a tree by planting your very own tree. Earth will be a better place when you give your gift of a tree. This next song, You Can Count on Trees, came from Ireland with permission. I think you'll love it if we can we? Yes, we can get it up.
Pick up your waist and little wherever you go. In sun or rain, in frost or snow. Let all the little plants and the animals have their say. Biodiversity, hooray, hooray. The water is so precious, so cherish it, spreads Ganagani's message. You can count on trees for the air you breathe on Mother Earth. You give us all the plants we need to grow our crops. That's not where you stop oceans and fields. You give us all we need and we love you. Ooh. start to talk. The carbon footprint shrinking when we reuse, recycle, and reduce. You can count on trees for the air you breathe, oh Mother Earth. You give us soil to plant our seeds, to grow our crops. That's not where you stop oceans and fields. You give us all we need and we love you. So the garden is keeping green and so should you.
Well, I feel like clapping to that. That was beautiful, wasn't it? I was really moved. Hi, I'm Miranda Hofelt, and I'm a member of the Climate Action Committee here here in Utica. And I'm going to, for the offering, I'm going to read a passage by James Luther Adams, a Unitarian Universalist theologian and ethicist. And he said, we must use all our resources, our energy, our time, and our money to create a just society.
Before Doreen Markson reads the meditation, I would like all of you on Zoom to remute yourselves, please. And for those of you who are in person, get yourselves ready to meditate, maybe put your feet on the floor and sit up any way you're comfortable. And imagine you are a tree, because that's what the meditation is about.
I think we can all use this at this point. It's by Kimberly Ann Tomzik Carlson. She's a minister of religious education in Milwaukee, I believe. And she wants us not only to be able to not only connect intellectually with trees and their problems and earth, but also to feel like a tree. So if you'll join me now, take a couple of big breaths, and she asks us to feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots. Roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength. So gently sway in the wind, turning your body like a trunk of a tree, leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls. What surrounds you may sway you, make you bend and feel unbalanced. So wiggle your toes. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. Where a tree is nourished by the soil and water, and you are nourished by food the earth grows and the water it provides. So breathe deeply, still yourself, and know that your roots are strong. Wiggle your roots.
Before I begin the reflection, keep that feeling of trees with you, and know that if you're a resident of Utica or know a resident of Utica, the Urban Tree Project is for you. If you want to know more, talk to Dave about it at the end of the service or me. And we are hoping to continue this project through the years. This is a pilot project, so we're watching it and watching the survival of the trees, but that's our plan. Right, Dave? Okay. I'm hoping my granddaughter is still on the Zoom, because this is for you and for future generations, by the way. This comes from an article called Measuring Equity Through City Trees, written by Brianna Draxler and in Yes Magazine, March 9, 2021. Yes Magazine is one of my favorite magazines. The term urban forest may sound like an oxymoron. When most of us think about forests, we may picture vast expanses of tall trunks and dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves far from the busyness of city. But the trees that line city streets and surround apartment complexes across the US hold great value, in part because of their proximity to people. Per tree, you're getting way more value for an urban tree than a tree out in the wild, says Mark McPherson, founder and director of a Seattle nonprofit called City Forest Credits. In an increasingly urbanizing world, cities are, after all, right where people live and breathe and recreate. Trees, and urban trees in particular, provide enormous benefits. For starters, they're responsible for producing oxygen and removing CO2 and other pollutants from the air. Urban forests in the US remove an estimated 75,000 tons of pollutants per year. They reduce the impact of falling rain and encourage that water to soak into the ground, reducing flooding and erosion, as well as preventing pollution from entering waterways and sewers. And the shade they provide isn't just good for picnics. Trees absorb heat and release water vapor, cooling the surrounding air. The US Forest Service estimates that trees reduce the energy consumption needed to cool homes in the US by more than 7%. Leslie Burks, director of Trees Forever, says in the absence of trees, these urban areas tend to be concrete, either buildings or sidewalks or streets or all. These impervious surfaces absorb heat during the day and then release it at night, preventing the relief of cooling temperatures and creating what we call urban heat islands. You may have seen that in the news in Portland, Seattle, and British Columbia just a few months ago. And it really, if you read the article about that Portland heat island in the New Yorker, I forget what issue, but I can put it out. We didn't know how dangerous and bad it really was. People are getting sick or dying from heat, Burke says, and their utility bills are going up. Heat is the biggest killer from a natural disaster perspective. Dawood Benedict, 18, has been planting trees with the organization Trees Forever since the fall of 2020. He applied after hearing about a friend's positive experience working with the organization. It's kind of like the group Dave Jones read about in Syracuse. It sounded nice to do something more for Des Moines, he said. The work has taught him to appreciate trees and their benefits to the community and the world, as well as work together in a group. He enjoys being able to drive past work sites and point out trees that he helped plant in his community. I feel like I'm making a bigger impact, he says. West Des Moines is home to 3 Microsoft data centers, and 2 more were built or supposed to be built in 2021. In the corporation's efforts to invest in communities that house their data centers, it funded Trees Forever work in 2019. And in 2020, the collaborative piloted a project that promises to put equity first. The project, called Impact Scorecard, is being rolled out in West Des Moines as well as Phoenix. The creator of the scorecard, Mark McPherson, says, Microsoft was looking for high impact projects, and his organization, City Forest Credits, developed a way to measure the impact of trees on equity, human health, and the environment. As a society, we have not found a way to put natural capital on the balance sheet as an asset. There's no asset value to the trees only an expense item. As such, trees necessarily fall to the bottom of many city budgets or off them altogether. Urban trees don't just store carbon, reduce stormwater, improve air, provide energy savings in terms of heating and cooling. They can, if done right, tremendously advance environmental justice. They provide human health benefits, biodiversity, bird and pollinator habitat, slope stability, and the list goes on. They are like utilities. They provide incredible service. That's what drives Lydia Scott, director of the Chicago Region Trees Initiative, which Miranda may know because she came from Chicago and worked on trees. This partnership brings together 14 organizations. Lydia says trees can help reduce crime, improve property values, and reduce temperatures. It also increases homeowner satisfaction, coming to your street and really feeling good and welcome about it. To let communities lead, though, members of the initiative had to be willing to listen. Some neighborhoods, for example, didn't want trees or actively wanted them removed to prevent obstructing streetlights because of safety concerns. Police departments, too, sometimes cite a need for open line of sight on sidewalks and in city parks. This was an eye-opener for us, Scott said. It all comes down to the right tree in the right place. Urban areas are a mix of public and private lands. So to plant trees requires the buy-in of a greater number of stakeholders. We know trees have a dramatic impact on the quality of life, Scott said. They are critical infrastructure in communities and should be protected and budgeted as such, but they are rarely recognized for the value and services they provide. Those services are immensely valuable to cities. The Impact Scorecard is the latest work of Greg McPherson and his brother, Phil, I think, forgotten his name, sorry. It aims to get corporations and other private funders like Rotary, like the Rotary Club of Utica and the Adirondack Mountain Club. Do I have their name right, Dave? It aims to get private funders to underwrite the cost of doing important community-led work through the planting of urban trees. That's a critical part of environmental justice, explains Mark McPherson, who as a white man says he works hard to avoid the tropes of white saviorism. Not just you beam in from your NGO and plant trees, but rather to actually have these projects led by the local community. Mark McPherson says urban forests are unique because they connect global atmospheric benefits with ecosystem resilience and mitigation. Very seldom do you get a climate action that fits all of those, he says. The trees in our neighborhood tell a story about our society, one of equity. The story we're trying to craft is one in which living in a city is healthy, equitable, and connected with nature. And with that, I'd like to sing the song, We'll Build a Land, which to me says we're putting things together, we're working in community, and this is what we do.
Where the peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where the oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build a land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Hi, I'm Roberta, and I'm going to read the closing today. And the closing is titled Peace Like a River, Strength Like a Mountain by Stephen M. Schick. Officials laughed when Wangari Maathai said that the women of her country would plant 15 million trees. The natural strength of the trees they planted began flowing through the women who planted them, and they discovered their own power. Through the simple planting of trees, women who lived in poverty and despair began to transform the landscapes and themselves. The trees helped reduce soil erosion and water pollution. When you plant a tree and you see it grow, Maathai says, something happens to you. You want to protect it and you value it.
Now we extinguish the flame. What? We extinguish the flame, this flame, but not the truth of light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Oh, I can do it.
It's like the birthday cake candle. Got it. And I want to thank you, Barb, first of all, for all your, I want to thank you, Barb, first of all, for all of your organization, and also for picking We'll Build a Land. It's one of my favorite UU hymns, so thank you for that opportunity to sing. For our benediction today, I'm going to read a poem by Reverend Samuel A. Trumbore, and it's called Go Forth in Simplicity. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people.